Warren Beatty's list of women he dated with the worst hygiene is a story that reportedly circulated quietly behind Hollywood glamour for decades. Warren Beatty, a man said to have dated nearly every leading actress in Hollywood between 1960 and 1990, carried a secret beyond his legendary romantic life. According to his longtime driver Michael Reynolds, after dropping off his famous dates, Beatty would sit in the back seat and deliver precise, often ruthless critiques of their personal hygiene. Reynolds, who drove Beatty from 1965 to 1992, claimed Warren had the most sensitive nose in Hollywood, able to detect a missed shower from across a crowded room. Unlike friends who openly bragged about their exploits, Beatty discussed romantic disappointments with an unsettling calm, no raised voice and no visible emotion, offering observations in the same measured tone he used on film sets. After dates, he would immediately open the car window regardless of the weather, and then come what Reynolds called the assessment, comments about unchanged sheets, perfume used to mask not showering, or habits that failed his rigid standards. For a man whose grooming bordered on obsession, showering multiple times a day and discarding shirts after a single wear, hygiene was non-negotiable. He expected women to be perfectly maintained machines, with no human smells, no morning breath, and no evidence of actual bodies, a standard Reynolds himself called impossible. According to first-hand accounts from the man who drove them home, 5 iconic women allegedly failed these impossible standards, each representing a different violation in Beatty's private hygiene hierarchy. Madonna was one of the most memorable names on this list. During the 1990s set of Dick Tracy, Beatty and Madonna were briefly involved, a volatile connection Reynolds observed from the driver's seat. Reynolds recalled picking them up after the premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater, where they walked the red carpet and attended the after-party before Beatty suddenly emerged alone. He slid into the back seat looking genuinely rattled and sat silently for several blocks before saying that she changed her scent throughout the evening. He then launched into a detailed inventory of her perfume strategy, describing it like a military operation, allegedly saying she smelled like incense, sweat, and ambition, and that it was overwhelming. Reynolds believed Beatty wasn't disturbed by conventional uncleanliness, but by what he perceived as Madonna's strategic manipulation of scent, something that threatened his own sense of control. Days later, Reynolds recalled waiting outside her place when Beatty stormed out carrying his jacket instead of wearing it, claiming she had sprayed perfume on it without his knowledge. He seemed genuinely disturbed, as if a boundary had been violated, and the relationship ended shortly after, placing Madonna firmly on Beatty's mental list of hygiene disappointments for reasons rooted more in control than cleanliness. Jane Fonda represented a different kind of violation. In 1971, at the height of her career in political activism, she briefly connected with Beatty during her most radical period. Reynolds recalled picking them up for a Vietnam veterans benefit in the valley during a July heat wave of about 95 degrees. Beatty got into the car already annoyed and immediately complained that she had refused to use deodorant before the fundraiser, lecturing him about aluminum and corporate chemicals. According to Reynolds, Beatty was genuinely bewildered by her deliberate rejection of conventional hygiene products, repeatedly questioning how someone could spend hours perfecting her hair for a protest while refusing what he considered basic hygiene. The relationship deteriorated over weeks as Beatty fixated on what he saw as contradictions in her approach to personal care. Reynolds witnessed their final confrontation after another political event when they emerged mid-argument and rode back in silence. Later that night, Beatty reportedly told Reynolds that Fonda had called him toxically clean, a comment that deeply rattled him. From Reynolds' perspective, her offense wasn't poor hygiene, but a political rejection of products Beatty considered essential, challenging not only his preferences but his assumptions. Joan Collins symbolized the opposite extreme. Beatty's relationship with her in the late 1950s predated Reynolds' employment, but the driver saw how it influenced Beatty's judgments decades later. While driving to an industry dinner in 1977 where Collins would be present, Beatty spent the entire ride instructing Reynolds to keep the car windows open afterward if she came near it. He launched into a detailed critique of what he considered her excessive use of fragrance, claiming she was over-perfumed to the point of suffocation and that her scent had once permeated his car upholstery, requiring professional cleaning. Unlike complaints about insufficient cleanliness, Collins represented what Beatty viewed as overwhelming artificial scent. He believed a woman should smell neither natural nor artificial, seeking an impossible middle ground. At the event, they exchanged a brief air kiss lasting seconds. Yet when Beatty returned to the car hours later, he claimed he could still taste her perfume and needed aspirin for a headache. By any objective standard, Collins wasn't unhygienic, but she violated Beatty's narrow idea of acceptable femininity through what he perceived as excessive artificial fragrance. Julie Christie was different because she was the love of his life. Their relationship from 1967 to 1974 was Beatty's longest and most significant before marriage, and Reynolds witnessed how even this deep connection couldn't escape his rigid standards. Reynolds recalled picking up a jet-lagged Beatty from LAX after a visit to Christie's farmhouse in England, where Beatty admitted, almost hurt, that she wasn't always fresh in the mornings. He was disturbed that she would drink coffee and read the paper before showering or brushing her teeth. This revelation created ongoing tension, one of the few times Beatty couldn't simply end things over hygiene. Reynolds drove them together many mornings and sensed palpable tension, even overhearing Christie remark that not everyone needed to taste like mouthwash at 6 in the morning. Unlike casual dates, Christie's importance created genuine internal conflict for Beatty, who even asked Reynolds if it was strange to shower immediately upon waking, a question so unprecedented it nearly caused Reynolds to crash the car. Brigitte Bardot represented a complete sensory crisis. During a brief encounter at the 1965 Cannes Film Festival, Reynolds picked up Beatty afterward and found him genuinely shaken. Before leaving the airport, Beatty launched into an extended monologue about French hygiene practices, both repelled and fascinated by a fundamentally different approach to bodies and cleanliness. He claimed she believed soap was a tool of the patriarchy, his own clumsy attempt to process a sex symbol comfortable with natural body odor. According to Reynolds, the disconnect peaked during a dinner where Bardot arrived directly from a yacht excursion, changed clothes but didn't shower, raised her arms revealing unshaven underarms, and laughed at his reaction. For Beatty, whose concept of appeal relied on eliminating natural processes, Bardot's comfort with bodily reality was irreconcilable.